Good evening, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Welcome to another episode of What Do the Pros Do Differently to Us Amateurs. So far this series I feel has been really helpful for people. I've had a lot of questions about this kind of series that I'm doing, a lot of insights into other reasons why they're different. Today is actually a topic that I find myself teaching most people week in, week out. And we're going to be talking about how pros use the front wall a lot differently to how we as amateurs use the front wall. Now, this is an area of the game which for me is something that I've brought into my game in the last 12 months, which has helped me massively, but equally something that I teach on a very regular basis when I'm doing match play stuff, even when I'm doing drills with people, from the back of the court especially, and that is using the entire front wall. One thing, if you look at pros compared to amateurs, is that us as amateurs see that kind of fast pace on the telly or on YouTube or when we watch professional games, even to a high kind of counter level, we see the better players playing at a faster pace. So we try and constantly do that from every aspect of the court when we get on and play ourselves. I see a lot of people playing from the back of the court, still trying to kind of hit this kind of service line height, which is great when we've got time on the ball and we can really attack a drive, but as a basic fundamental length game, can be quite difficult to keep that consistency up. If we're hitting on the kind of the service line and it's loose to a point, aka in kind of like service box width away from the wall, all of a sudden we're allowing our opponent to volley the ball and we're giving them middle of the court, which is obviously not what we want to be doing. That's not why we're trying to hit the length. So what I encourage all amateurs that I coach to do is vary that height from the back of the court, depending on the situations that they're in. And then once they've kind of got that under control, we actually bring that variation of height throughout the whole area of the court, whether you're at the front, middle, or you're at the back of the court. So I'm going to show you a few clips now and talk you through it. And you'll see here, this is from a recent tournament, and it's the match between Paul Cole and Mohammed El-Shorbagy. And you'll see how both players at times use the height, especially Mohammed when he's being worked harder, is trying to use height to completely nullify what Paul Cole is trying to do in the game.
So straight off the bat, you can see Paul Cole here just resetting the rally with a slightly higher shot to the back to cement his place on that tee and allow him to try and take control of that rally. And you can see here a few exchanges at service line height, and then Paul Cole eventually puts the ball in short when he gets the opportunity. Now in this clip you'll see Mohammed El-Shorbagy just here using that height to get himself back into the rally, actually allows him to jump on the next loose one, and Paul Cole equally using two lifts there to get out of trouble in two different areas of the court. So two very good examples again there of using height to get out of trouble and actually just often turn defence into attack very, very quickly. You can see here both of them when under pressure just using that height to try and stay in that rally and make the volley uncomfortable for their opponent. In the end, Paul Cole squeezes an error. So you can see that Paul Cole in this match, if any of you watched it, that he was really working Mohammed hard in these first two games. And you can see here straight away the intensity of the rallies have gone up, but it's generally in control of Paul Cole. He's the one hitting low and hard from in front of Mohammed, and Mohammed sadly is getting drawn into playing at that pace from behind him. And this is my point, is if Mohammed uses his noggin a little bit here and actually slows the ball down when he's behind Paul Cole, he has a chance to attack, which at times you can see that he actually does. Unfortunately, he's here attacking, relying on Paul Cole missing his target rather than actually creating a chance himself. It's the only way that the court opens up for him is when Paul makes a mistake, and unfortunately that's a lot to rely on. In this rally you can see he goes back to that kind of higher length, slower tempo, and he really does have a few more chances to keep Paul Cole behind him, so Paul can't keep that intensity up. You can see there using the lift really well just to contain Paul and stop him really pressing up the tee and trying to up the intensity of the rally to the point where he gets, as you just see there, a really good chance to win the point. So in the third game here you can see Mohammed already up. He generally here uses a lob for most of the rally, and what this is doing is completely nullifying that intensity that Paul Cole is trying to bring into this game, as he has done for the first two. And Mohammed starts to use his noggin a little bit more and actually use height at the back of the court so he can get in front and then implement his skill, which is around the front, once he can get in front of Paul Cole rather than trying to go toe-to-toe with him with pace. And you can see here Mohammed is controlling these rallies a lot more, and actually making Paul become a little bit less aggressive with pace because he doesn't have the option to do that as much. So nullifying that intensity that was in the first two games completely just by hitting that higher shot. And you can see again here just Mohammed using the lob really well from the back of the court and picking his moments when to be aggressive, which is what he wasn't doing, especially in that second game where he got drawn into that fast pace and was being worked very hard. Again, look at the height he's creating there. It doesn't even really matter that it's being overhit because he's just going to go and hit a lob again until he gets his chance. Paul Cole picking up the loose one and upping the intensity in that one. And that's what you can't give players like that when you're under that much pressure. But again, staying strong with the lob, and as you can see here, he's got game ball now, really utilising that lob, and all of a sudden, a loose ball and he can pounce on the stroke. And he won that game purely from using height.
So there you go, a real insight into how these pros are using the entire front wall to dominate that central tee area. It's really important that we use it and we utilise it, such as Nick Matthew, James Wolfstrop, the Ali Farag of this world. They all use the entire front wall, and it sounds so obvious when we stand here and talk about it. When we get into a game, I want you to think about just how often you actually hit that top third of the front wall. I can guarantee you, if you watch yourself back, most players at club level are hitting service line maybe halfway up maximum. We do not utilise that top third of the front wall enough. And once I actually get players playing in that way from the back of the court, you often find that that kind of defensive shot, which it isn't really, but that kind of higher length can often turn into an attack very easily if you hit your target. It's so much easier to get the ball to the back of the court if we just use height, especially if you're playing on colder courts. It's so hard to hit through the ball on colder courts. So let's use our noggins a little bit, and rather than trying to hit the ball a million miles an hour, let's use the height to try and get that ball dying in that back of the court. So all of a sudden it opens up the chance to volley, it opens up our chance to get on the post quickly. All these little areas start to open up if we just use that front wall efficiently. Now the shot that I have kind of tried to bring into my game a lot, as a lefty especially, is a kind of a cross-court lift from the back of the court. It's one that I see other lefties on the tour like Adrian Waller, players like that, use a lot, and it's become very effective for me. And it's literally from the back of the court, a high cross court to their backhand side also. So if I'm under pressure in my backhand corner, which often I am because people understand that my left hand, as a left-hander, the backhand side for me is a weaker side, and it also plays into their forehand. I'm trying to switch that as much as I can without encouraging them to volley. So the easiest way to do that is to get it over them. I always say to people, rather than trying to hit tight, which brings us back into the first video I did, rather than trying to hit tight, we're trying to stop the volley. We're not trying to hit through the volley or hit past the volley. It's really hard to get that ball tight, but it isn't that difficult when you get in the right position to get the ball over them. Now, this is a shot, again, that I've used a lot this season, just to really kind of slow the play down and get myself back in rallies where I'm under a bit of pressure. And it's literally trying to make sure that we're getting underneath the ball and literally trying to hit it in that top third of the wall. Now I'm going to try and show you the shot that I mean. And it's, again, a shot that you can bring into your own games, whether you're in the middle of the court, the front of the court, the back of the court. If that ball is out of position, use height. It's as easy as that. Rather than thinking about pressure of movement, if the ball is out of position, if you cannot attack that ball or if it's in an awkward place, just use height. Reset the rally with a nice high shot that gives you a chance to get back to that tee. So this is the shot I'm talking about. So if I'm in this backhand side in here, I'm looking to try and hit that high cross court that then hopefully really dies in that back corner. Now we all know it's very awkward to try and hit backhand volleys from up there. So that's what I'm trying to impose in my game, is I want to make the game as uncomfortable for them as possible so I can really take control. For me as a coach, it almost seems a bit like an ego thing for players, and it certainly was for me, that you want to play at this fast pace constantly. We've just got to think a bit more efficiently. If we're in trouble or if it's awkward, why are we trying to attack a ball, or why are we trying to be more positive from a shot that's awkward to play? You wouldn't try and attack from your own half, for example, in football. You wouldn't be trying to score from your own half. It just seems completely illogical to me. So in squash, we've got to do exactly the same. We've got to, what I would say, take our medicine and reset the rally before trying to go and win the point. We've got to look for a chance to create an opportunity before we can go and step on it a little bit. Obviously, that's as simply as I can put it. So I tell a lot of my players that I coach as a real basic kind of breakdown of that kind of mentality of, for the moment, to get them hitting higher, I say if you're behind the service box, so if you're past that back line of the service box, everything should be at least halfway at the wall, if not higher. And that's a really good way to get the players thinking about the height on the ball when they're at the back of the court. And instantly what I see in players is the length gets better. They volley more because they're obviously higher up the court. And all of a sudden, if they're volleying more, they're controlling rallies a hell of a lot more. And equally, they're able to get out of trouble at the back of the court because they're thinking, well, I'm deep in the court, I've got to go up. Rather than, I'm deep in the court, I need to do something. I need to hit the ball low. I need to hit a low post. It takes away those really irrational decisions out of their game straight away. Forget technique, everything. As soon as I get them thinking about the height on the ball and using the front wall, those irrational decisions are far, far less common. Honestly, I can't tell you enough how many lessons a day come to me and go, cool, hell, I'm volleying a lot more now because, well, it's obvious. They're at the back of the court trying to get it past you all of a sudden because you're hitting your target more. We don't need to be playing to try and beat them in this back corner. This is what I say to everyone, is you don't need to beat them with your length. You've just got to put them under some pressure. You've just got to hit your target. If you hit your target, it gives you an opportunity to get there. And if you're there, you're the person to beat. So all of a sudden you can create chances from the middle of the court rather than trying to win the point outright from the back of the court, which if you ask most amateurs, that's what they're trying to do. So there you have it. Hopefully you get a bit more of an insight as to why we need height on the front wall from the back of the court. So if you've got any questions, I appreciate that some of these points are quite vague. So if you want any elaborations or if you've got any questions following that video, please comment down below because I will happily respond to any questions that I have. So there we have it, another episode of What Do the PSA Pros Do Differently complete. If you have any suggestions or video ideas for me in this series, again, feel free to comment down below and I will happily take them on board. Again, thank you very much. There will be an update video coming next week to kind of round off 2023 for me, which has been a very, very good finish to the year. So keep your eye out for that video and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you all for watching and I'll see you next time.